And we're back again, and we have another wonderful guest, and her name is Lynn Lassotovitch.
Lassotovitch. It's like the rope.
Lassotovitch.
I'm a cowgirl, and it's like the rope.
I sort of thought I wouldn't get that one right, but it's a very nice name, Lynn. And they didn't give me a lot of information on you, so I'm counting on you to tell me the wonderful thing that you're working on now, because everybody should be doing something that's going to spread out to everybody else, and I know what you're doing does that, for sure.
Yeah, my goal is to help single people. I went through a bumpy road. I almost died, actually, 3 times the year that I became single, and nobody tried to kill me. It was just one of those things. So I went through a bumpy road. I had to rediscover myself, and I have some lots of tips as far as, if I could segue, I do have a book that is 6-Minute Dates, the Guide to Modern Dating, but I'd like to segue just for a second, an excerpt out of that book.
Okay.
And it talks about when you become single, it's like, oh, I have this time on my hands, I go to work, I come home, I'm lonely. What do I do now? How do I make my life better? Okay. Well, first of all, you have to get healthy, mind, body, and soul. Well, how do you do that? Well, in some cases, well, I exercise, and the more stress, the more I exercise. So I fell off the wagon during COVID. I'm back on, and I've got some weight to lose for many reasons, for my health, reduced stress. And it's so good for your emotional well-being. Okay, so we're going to get your mind, body, and soul better. How do you can't make yourself happy. You've got to find a way to find that joy back in your life again, whether it's through somebody else, that might be kind of early for you if you just get out of a relation, go into another one. It can perpetuate, if you don't know who you are, it can perpetuate more relationships with the same issues. But one of the things, and I want to give a shout out, some of the people that entities that helped me is because I couldn't help myself, I went to Community Hospital to Terry's house. I really want to give them a big shout out. I went over there and I visited with people while they're eating and talked to them, and some of them were girls with babies and no support, and so I was really good to team them up a little bit so they could find support. But what I found was something much larger. I needed to be held, and there's lots of ways you can get held when you're single, but this was healthy. And it gave back to them, and in return, I found real joy, So I'm real big on volunteering. So if you have some spare time, consider them, consider the American Red Cross. They're looking for volunteers right now. You're going to have to find a new way to live. In other words, going to work, coming home, and sitting and waiting for the next day, that's not good for you. So go places you don't want to go, do some things you don't want to do until you find yourself, And my joy and my find was anytime I help somebody else, it's like the finger that points, okay? You have 3 fingers pointing back at you. Every time I do something for somebody else, I have 3 fingers of joy coming back into my heart.
Who would have thunk of that?
I know, really, but it works. I have a life, a business, and that I love singles. I love to help people, and I write profiles within my scope of my work. So if you go online and you need a profile, I write those, and just a word a word on those profiles. If you have a lot of money, don't write you do. You'll get gold diggers. And if you, sometimes you don't know who you really are. So, in some cases, while I can do the profile, but I also encourage you to get help. Maybe you like narcissists and they like you back. I get it. I get it. You know, there's a certain personality that I like and they love me back. And it's just not a good relationship. Just never ends well. So I learned some stuff about myself. And the profile part, very often people don't put enough information on there, or they're not understood in the way that it's written. You know, they need some help with that. And, you know, I really want to talk to people about the first generation of meeting people may have been at church, and that went by the wayside. I mean, that's a great place to meet people, but it's, you know, it's not always everybody's choice. Mm-hmm. But we went to bars, and that was really not good. Occasionally you'll meet somebody, but by and large, it's not very dependable. So then we came to online. Well, guess what? There's lots of people online that will respond to you. You know, some of them are like, 30 years younger than me, and, they don't want me, I'm sure. But so very often the people that you will be talking to online, they don't look like their picture. They're not even that person, So, the compliments, take those with a grain of salt. They're normally not very sincere, So what my company, Date Me Solutions, offers, I offer in-person events, okay? And what I do for my singles, I have a subscription service. My events are not big. They're 50 people and less. And the purpose of that is to kind of meet people in more of a natural environment. It's in a safe zone as far as we meet at, like restaurants or event venues, So it's relatively safe in comparison to getting a phone call, going to the park and meeting somebody. It's much safer than that. So in addition to, I provide them support. The subscription is, right now, it's free until January 1st, and then it will be $19.99 a month. And what that does is it gives you a list of events that we're going to have in the future. It provides you, all the particulars on the events, and it kind of keeps you in contact or in communication, like with a group. You have me at your access. I also do some consulting. I'm a cheerleader, and I want to see everybody win. And some people, when they go through hard times, whether they're a widow or whether they're just single for other reasons, they need someone to say, to keep them accountable a little bit. I find out who they are, what they're about, and when they try to stray and go after that guy that was just like the last one, I just ask them questions. What do you like about him, and what were your goals? And I don't tell them what to do. I just remind them of, these are your goals. Does that fit? And I think you really should. You can't get the perfect man or the perfect woman, but, set your goals. Maybe you want to go play tennis 5 days a week. You deserve that. If you can land that gal, go for it. But, maybe you like pickleball. Maybe you like golf. And that brings up another point. With my events, I'm trying to get a subscription list that is large enough so that I can have events that focus on golfers, that focus on tennis players, and bus trips to the wine country, and I'm not even, if there's enough people interested, we can even go to a game as a bunch of singles. Oh, and very often when we travel, we do speed dating, so you get to meet everybody there, and in a non-threatening manner. It's like expected, so you can't be shy and just say, oh, I can't do that. It doesn't work that way. So have a motive, and so you can get to speak to somebody you might not would normally speak to. And contrary to popular opinion, I've checked this out with many women. The pretty girls very often sit home while other women do not. So the thought is that, guess what? She's probably got a date every night of the week. But in reality, it takes courage to ask her or him out. And by the way, I don't think that just women should ask men out. Men should ask women. I think that it's an equal opportunity sport. Right. It's a team sport. So very often I'll say, okay, I'm going here, and I'm going to the maybe a wine tasting. I'm going want to go to Clovis to maybe it was a big event out there, or I want to go to coffee. Are you on board with any of that? You know, and so it doesn't sound like the word date. Now, the word date for some of us that are commitment phobic, you know, that's a little scary. But when you can draw a picture of how the date will unfold, you don't have to use the word date, but however it will unfold, then they could buy, whether or not they want to go with you necessarily. Maybe they do want to go to that event out in Clovis, and you could be company. So give them a picture in their brain so that they're not just buying in on you and maybe the shirt you have on or whatever.
So that's fascinating that you have made a study out of something that's so current and everybody, so many women,
I have an MBA,
men.
So I'm very analytical. Mm-hmm. And actually, it was a minor in healthcare. So, you know, I'm interested in people. And then I did some work with consultants on myself, so I don't have to I've been married twice. I don't want to make the same, the third person miserable.
Well, I know but it's such a wonderful subject for you to be handling, because there's so many of us that need help in that area. You know, it's so personal.
It is.
So personal.
I was out at the Clovis Fest a couple weeks ago. Oh. And so I got like 60 subscribers at that point. And what was ironic to me, I had 6 people over 80 that said, look, we want you to have a segment just for us. You know, we want you to... you know, because some of my age breaks were not up that high. Uh-huh. And it was like, I don't know, 70 plus. Mm-hmm. And that was too big of for some of them, that was too big of a difference. And they said, you know, make it 80, you know. So hey, I'm on board. If there's a need, I'll be there.
That's fantastic. And there is a need, I'm sure, of all ages.
Yes.
Because each age you go into has a different thing that you have to get through. So it's wonderful. Are you thinking about writing a book about it?
Oh, I do. I have a book. It's 6-Minute Dates, The Guide to Modern Dating. Oh. And the way this came about was 10 years ago. I was joking down in Southern California. I was working an event for another entity. And I was playing with them about my single life. And so at the end of the event, they came to me and they said, I kept telling them, read my book. And so at the end of the event, they said, we need you to bring 65 books to Ventura.
Wow. And
so it's like, oh, I better write that book. So I'm trying to finish it up as we speak. Hopefully, 22, 23, it will come out. But a lot of the research for that has also been the source of help for Date Me Solutions.
I think that's fantastic, and I'm looking forward to this so much. And I'm glad you came in today, because it's wonderful to know that there's someone out there that is trying to help people understand themselves a little bit better and bring more wonderful things into their lives. So thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And come in again if you can.
I will.
Okay, honey. Thank you so much.
Again, this is Lynn Lassotovitch with DateMe.Solutions, and my number is 559-981-9417. Look forward
wonderful.
to talking to you.
We have it on the board there, too, so thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Have a good day.
You too.